pit lane, so it's pretty hard to beat that. But I will say, without the pit pass, for me, hearing the taps, I'm a huge supporter of our military and first responders, so just hearing the taps always gives me goosebumps. And to get 300,000 people to be quiet for that, it's pretty surreal. So I would have to say taps is one of my favorite things on pre-race.
I'd have to agree. I mean, there's just something special about that moment at the Speedway, and every year it's always so well done. There's like you said, nothing quite like making the world's single largest sporting event by terms of attendance. There's nothing like making all those people shut up to take in what is such just a poignant moment in pre-race ceremonies every year. It's between that and back home again in Indiana. Tough to beat those two moments in time each year, and cumulatively, those are about 2.5 minutes every May that really make our entire year. I know I think I speak for the both of us when I say that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we're just a short while from bringing in Ray Kingsbury, just about a couple minutes away, so we'll give you a little update. Right now you're seeing Marco Brazil on track. Marco out there right now, he's quickest in the session to this point, but as you see, he's in the wall. He's pushing hard to try to get another big lap on the board and perhaps inch closer to that 38.3 second lap that Brendan Lichtenberg sent to the top of the charts yesterday, and that was an unofficial lap record at the Open Wheels 500. And what we mean when we say an unofficial lap record, the only laps that can count towards official Open Wheels 500 speed records are in qualifying and race mode, but the fastest practice lap that was ever set at the Open Wheels 500 was set here at the Speedway yesterday, and Brendan Lichtenberg posted a lap that was at, let me see, get this number right, 234.809 seconds. So while again we try to temper these expectations and let people know that these laps are likely draft aided at the top of the leaderboard, those are times that were clearly untouchable last year, and now with the added horsepower boost this year, we're seeing some just really big speeds, trap speeds near 242 yesterday for Lichtenberg. So really still fun to watch. We know it's kind of hard to handicap who's going to be strong for the pole in the field of 33 this weekend when we pay attention to some of these toe times, but it's just a lot of fun to see some of these big speeds before we get into the stress of qualifying weekend. So it looks like we have Ray Kingsbury waiting in the lobby. And just to give a quick introduction to Ray, he's driving the Spark Virtual Racing Honda for Spark VR Last Lap Motorsports. He's driving the number 25 machine, and he is a former winner of the iRacing Indianapolis 500's top split. He's actually the most recent winner of a top split iRacing Indy 500 race because he won the Sunday race at this past May's iRacing Indy 500. So now we welcome to the studio Ray Kingsbury. Ray, you have a copy?
Yeah, how are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks so much for joining us on today at the 500. It's great to have you back here at the Open Wheels 500 again in 2020. Just in kind of a general sense, let the folks listening at home know what you've been up to on iRacing and whatnot, and kind of fill us in on what life's been like since you won the iRacing Indy 500 on the last Sunday in May.
Yeah, I mean, we've taken a big break from Indy. Kind of running the 500 is one of those things that, burns you out when you're practicing for it. Leading up to that, I mean, I don't know how many hours Chad and the other guys and I put in, but it was a lot. This is the first year we really figured out the setup, and we managed to qualify for the top split. We've always known we've had the race setups to do okay, but finally qualified in this year on the top splits. And we managed to win one, which was a goal we've had for the last 6 years. We've qualified for a top split, and never managed to win, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, so we took a big break from Indy, and then once Indy Elite finished up, we kind of jumped into some rallycross stuff. Our rallycross league, NASA Sim Racing, North American Simulated Auto Racing, was starting back up in iRacing. We did some of that, and that's been a lot of fun. Nice break. And then the Corvette came out for the GTE, and I had just started to dabble in the GTEs for like Le Mans and a couple of the other endurance events, and I started to get back into endurance racing, and that's been a lot of fun. And because of that, the rallycross league I'm in, we have a little off season here, so we put together a quick 6-week season, something called NASA GT Americas, and we've managed to get 50 drivers to sign up for a 6-week season. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, we were not expecting the popularity. And we've put together a package with like something like $400 or $300 in prize money, if you were to convert it to US dollars. So that's pretty cool, and we're gonna have a full broadcast package for that throughout the season.
Yeah, right now talking to Ray Kingsbury, and Ray, this is one thing I was going to ask you about. You know, who are the sponsors that help get that GT America series off the ground? It looks like you've got a great group of partners that have really springboarded this, and I know it's just a 6-race season right now, but there's a lot of interest for it that might grow that in the future.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, growing stuff in sim racing is always a good thing. It initially started with just the guys over at Spark, and we were talking to them about putting something together to give them a little exposure, and they're looking to start up a new venture that is focused on creating sim rigs for you know, like ready-made solutions for businesses and stuff. So they're looking into that, and we were like, okay, we'll give you some you know, exposure with that. That'd be great. And then our rallycross community really jumped on it, and we started getting funding from Sim Racer Coin, which is a sim racing based cryptocurrency. It uses Ethereum blockchain, I think. I don't know too much about it, but they've been really great to us, and it's been really cool to learn about cryptocurrency. And then an Australian company, iDrive Sim Training, jumped on as our team championship sponsor to provide a little prize for that. And they do a lot of stuff where it's like trying to get people onto the road so they can pass their driver's tests, people that are either afraid of the road or maybe they have certain handicaps, so they can get some experience before they jump onto an actual car. And then we had a few design companies that are local, not local, within our rallycross community jump on and sort of pick up different roles, and also sponsor races for a little bit of cash to help support the you know, session costs and our broadcasters and all that. And then we had a local charity jump on as well to get themselves some exposure as well. So a bunch of different places it's coming from, but largely community driven.
Well, and it's great to have that kind of support, and I think you know, that's one thing that helped get our Open Wheels 500 off the ground last year, was a bunch of community support down here in southern Indiana, and that made quite the difference. I know Carter McCue has a couple questions to ask you, and I'll give the floor to Carter now.
Yeah, good to have you on, Ray. Going back to the win in May at the iRacing Indy 500, obviously you were saying that any race here at Indy, if you want to be successful, you got to put a lot into it, and it kind of takes a lot of it out of you. How are you going to use that momentum from May going into the Open Wheels 500?
Well, yeah, one thing we're going to do is we're not going to change the race setup. I think if it was able to drive through that field, which was still a pretty strong field, you know, I caught you, Tanner, from like 8 seconds back or something crazy. So I think we're going to stick with that one. We had actually, I don't know what the setup change was. We had looked at our tire wear basically and said the right front wasn't wearing properly. So we made a tweak right before the broadcast race, and we said this should work a little better for the long run. And it must have changed something else throughout the chassis, even though it didn't change the crossfade. It must have changed something somewhere, as it was pushing big time through middle in the drafts. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to run the setup that was wearing the tire wrong. It just felt better. It actually handled worse in clean air, which that doesn't really matter, but in draft I was actually able to pass people. So and then longer into the run it was more stable, which was bizarre, but for whatever reason it worked. So we're going to stick with that. and we haven't touched the queue setup, which is probably a bad thing, but we're going to start doing some practice this weekend a little.
Yeah, yeah. So that kind of takes me into my next question. We haven't seen you on track yet for any of the Open Wheels 500 practice. What are you going to be working on when you finally do get on track? You said that you don't really have much to work on with your race set. Is there a lot of qualifying or just some race tweaking?
Yeah, I mean, I think with both the race and the queue set packages we have, they're both good, obviously. I think with the queue package, is just going to be getting used to it again. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tanner, we do an extra warm-up lap here, so I might need to figure out if there's any instability things with that. But I don't know. We should be okay, hopefully. We might need to just take a little, cross weight out of it just to get it to last the extra lap.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I've got for Ray. Good to have you on, Ray. I'll pass it back on to Tanner.
Yeah, and there is that extra warm-up lap. It adds a little bit of a wrinkle into things compared to what we do at the iRacing Indy 500, but you guys were definitely trending in the right direction during that week of qualifying for the iRacing Indy 500, and it ended in a race win. Got about 60 seconds left in this segment, but real quick, Ray, kind of talk about your win that day, and you said you came from the back a little bit. We had a great battle towards the end. What was it like to finally get over the hump and win one of those iRacing Indy 500 top splits?
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where I'm like, well, I'm probably not doing that again, but we'll try. But that race was just insane. I mean, we ended up, falling back early on. We ended up long stinting the tires and finally breaking away from that rest of that second group, and then caught up to you, Tanner. And as soon as I caught up to you, some lap car braked on the racing line trying to get into the pit lane and took my wing off, caused a caution. So then I had to do it all over again, and I just remember John Gogue screaming in my ear, "You need to save me another lap of fuel. One more lap, and then you can go." And as soon as JRT told me I was dead on the money for fuel, I went for it. And I think it was who was it behind us? Kinsella?
Something like that, yeah.
Kinsella was holding that whole pack up because he had an extra.
That's right,
I
yeah.
think he had the rear bar on it, so he had a little extra downforce in the car. He thought I was short on fuel, but I was good to go. And then another caution, and then we battled it out, Tanner, and you got, unfortunately, wiped out. But that was one heck of a race.
Yeah,
Good
no.
memory.
It was great, and you guys certainly earned it. I remember, being in the position I was and thought we were in a pretty good spot, but I just kept watching you guys cut into the gap, and certainly weren't going to be denied that day, and it was a victory well earned. So congratulations again. I don't know if I got the chance to say that back in May, but congrats on your win, and best of luck during this year's Open Wheels 500, man. I appreciate you coming on the program tonight.
Thanks, Tanner, and thanks for having me. And I think you didn't congratulate me because you were riding on an ambulance somewhere after flipping out of the track. So
yeah, I've had a few of those over the years, so unfortunately it seems to be a trend.
All right, well, you guys have a good one.
All right, that's Ray Kingsbury, everybody, driver of the number 25 machine for Spark VR Last Lap Motorsports. That takes us right to the end of our second segment here. When we come back, we're going to talk to Adam Blocker, another former winner at the iRacing Indianapolis 500. You're listening to Today at the 500 live on Open Wheels TV. Coverage of the 2020 Open Wheels 500 is brought to you by the Majors Series, presenting partner of Open Wheels 500 broadcast. Mitchell Transmissions, presenting sponsor of the Open Wheels 500. Pit Lane Parlay Podcast. Listen to Pit Lane Parlay today on all major podcast platforms. And the Majors Garage, the official setup shop of the Open Wheels 500. And welcome back to Today at the 500, live here on Open Wheels TV. Just about 26 minutes left in practice today. Rounding out our second day of practice here at the Open Wheels 500-mile race. It's been an exciting day so far, and we're ready to turn it up a notch later on this week with qualifications this coming weekend. Of course, we'll be back on track for practice on Thursday, and that'll include a special presentation at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. We'll bring you the live qualifications draw on Race Spot TV. So looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to talking to our next guy here on the program. His name is Adam Blocker. He's a former winner of the iRacing Indianapolis 500's top split. He pilots the number 74 machine for Powerslide Motorsports. Adam, welcome to the program, man. You got a copy?
Yep, I got you. You got me.
We got you loud and clear. It's great to have you on today. I know you've been traveling and just came from some testing down south at Barber Motorsports Park. First and foremost, congrats on your first season working in IndyCar.
Yeah, thanks. It was definitely an adventure and learned a lot from it. Looking forward to next year already.
Yeah, really looking back on the season that was, it's quite the unique year to jump in the fray with the NTT IndyCar series. But as a professional in the sport, what's kind of the number one thing you took away from your first year working for IndyCar?
So my first year with Ilmore, so for the people who don't know, I'm a trackside support engineer for Ilmore, who supplies the engines for Chevy and IndyCar. So I'm actually the engine guy that's on the timing stand assigned to a team for a weekend. I would say the main thing I took away from the season was really just a lot of small things, like to be at a level like an IndyCar, there's just so many small details that goes into the preparation for each weekend and during a weekend, so many things to get right, both on the technical side, all the different parameters that we can adjust in the calibration and things to look for on telemetry and things like that, but also just interacting with the teams and all the small details to make sure that are done correctly. And Ilmore has like a really strong culture of focusing on all those details, which kind of shows up through all of our, gets passed down from management and everything. So
we're talking right now to Adam Blocker, driving the number 74 machine for Powerslide Motorsports. Last year, Adam, you finished 5th at the inaugural Open Wheels 500. Just real quick, how do you build on a strong run in 2019 and carry that over to 2020 in this month of November?
Well, from last year specifically, we could have gotten the strategy right or better in the race and significantly improved our chance to win. But I think the main thing is just setup. I mean, last year we were pretty close on setup, but in May we were lacking in both race and qualifying. I think our race set was probably second or third best, but it was quite a big gap to I5G. So I think we've made some improvements on the race setup since then, and I think I'm not too worried about that. But the main thing, we still are looking for more time than I would like in qualifying. So just trying to find that little extra bit in qualifying. So hopefully I don't have to start from the back, which seems to be what I normally do in these 500-mile races. So.
I know Carter McCue's got a couple questions for you. He's going to shoot those over right now.
Yeah, good to have you on, Adam. Obviously, we're a few days away from qualifications. We're kind of talking to Ray Kingsbury about the same thing, but going into this weekend, what do you have bigger concerns for? Is that making it through qualifying or making it through the race itself?
Well, I mean, this weekend is all about qualifying, so that's really all I'm thinking about right now. I'm not too worried about making it through the race. I have a lot of race experience. I race a lot in this car, and I know even if we have a suboptimal setup in the race, which I don't think we will, but if we do, I'll still have a chance to win just through strategy and execution. But yeah, qualifying, especially with this format, I mean, you only get 3 attempts, and each one, thankfully last year I only had to use 1, but it's really nerve-wracking, really easy to make mistakes, and with just how hard you have to push in any qualifying and how precise you have to be, it's really easy to make a mistake and lose, a few hundredths on your average, and that could be the difference between you starting 20th or qualifying or not qualifying for the race. So, yeah, I think qualifying is sort of the main thing I'm nervous about, and as long as I get through that, okay, then I'll be just positive going into the race.
Yeah, I mean, the competition's just insanely tight. You got to play your cards right. So thinking back to your win at the iRacing Indy 500, obviously a lot goes into getting a win. Luck, strategy, your setup. What went right that day that you need to go right this November to take the checkered at the Open Wheels 500?
I think, obviously, I mean, having the setup to fight for the win is pretty important, but assuming you have that, the main thing is just to get track position and be in front if a long green run happens, and so you have track position the whole race. You just if you have good track position, then you're safer the whole race, and it's also just important to get the strategy right. I mean, that's what cost us last year. Henry and I both we pitted an extra time, like 5 laps after we'd already pitted after the mid-race yellow and Open Wheels 500, and basically cost ourselves 15 positions, and then we still couldn't make the fuel number for a variety of reasons that we know. But so ultimately, yeah, we ended up bailing on the fuel saving, so we just cost ourselves like 5-6 seconds. So we could have easily finished second and third if we had played the strategy better. But anyway.
Yeah, well, that's all I've got, Adam. It's good having you on. I'll pass it back on over to Tanner.
Yeah, and that's so it goes at Indy. It takes a lot of things to go right to win those races, and that's why, whether it's the feature race or any of the other 3 race slots that happen during an iRacing Indy 500 weekend, any top split win is certainly earned, and part of that is racing with a great team. You run with Powerslide Motorsports, and that's an established group that has been strong throughout the years on iRacing. You and Henry Bennett did a great job at the front last year, and now this year you add Andrew Kinsella. He'll be driving for the first time at an Open Wheels 500, and Hugo Olsen is now running under the Powerslide banner. So what's it like to not only bring those guys to this year's race? I know Kinsella's been around for a while, but what's it like to go out and run with that crew and prepare for big races like this with a team that's really balanced and well established?
Yeah. Also, we have Chris Stouffer in our lineup as well. But yeah, I think between the 5 of us, assuming we all get in or most of us get in, I think inside of the race itself, everyone's valuable in terms of making strategy calls. All of us have a good knowledge on how the race works, and talk about strategy. We can work together in the race, whether it's swap drafting or different things, just to communicate, where we are in the tools or whatever, and everyone has a trust in what everyone else is saying, which is pretty important. But in terms of preparation, I think I'm not going to say we all think the same, because that's not true, but we all think very similarly and approach things in a similar way, and that helps. We understand each other very well, and we understand our different strengths. So, like, for example, a good example is normally, like, in qualifying, Henry can be the one that takes massive swings on setup to find a completely new setup direction, but then normally, like, myself is probably better at, like, fine-tuning it to find the exact window that we need to get. So just things like that really help us a lot, to where we can rely on each other to find speed and work together in the race.
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning Chris Stouffer. Didn't mean to leave you out, Chris. Chris is a driver who qualified for last year's inaugural Open Wheels 500. He was actually the last driver that was a day one qualifier that made it into the field. He started 20th in last year's race, and he's back again in 2020. So great to have Chris as part of that Powerslide stable, and you guys will certainly be one of the contenders up front. I expect when November the 15th comes around. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us, Adam. Best of luck as we move through this week, and looking forward to seeing how you do in both qualifying and what we expect will be also race day on November 15th.
Yep, looking forward to it. Just want to thank you for putting on the event again. I know it's a lot of work and looks like it's hopefully going to be even better than last year. So yeah, just looking forward to qualifying this weekend and hopefully making it through to the race.
Awesome. Well, that's Adam Blocker, everybody. He's a driver for Powerslide Motorsports, piloting the number 74 Chevrolet, and he comes from the Carolina Club. Looking forward to seeing what Adam can do out on track this week and throughout the Open Wheels 500. That brings us to the end of our third segment. We'll be back in just a few moments and bring you the last bit of action here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is Today at the 500 on Open Wheels TV. Coverage of the 2020 Open Wheels 500 is brought to you by the Majors Series, presenting partner of Open Wheels 500 broadcast. Mitchell Transmissions, presenting sponsor of the Open Wheels 500. Pit Lane Parlay Podcast. Listen to Pit Lane Parlay today on all major podcast platforms. And the Majors Garage, the official setup shop of the Open Wheels 500. Big thanks to Michael Lett at the Majors Series and Majors Garage for providing us with, again, some great coverage of the Open Wheels 500. The Majors Series is the presenting sponsor of Open Wheels 500 broadcasts on Open Wheels TV and Race Spot TV. And the Majors Series is the official garage of the Open Wheels 500, the official setup shop. And happy to have them be a part of this year's event. We're getting towards the end of today's practice coverage, just about 10 minutes left in practice as it currently stands. Marco Brazil still at the top of the board, but we have a new second place driver. Ryan Schold went out and put up a 38.555 second lap. So a new driver sitting P2, now moving Jesper Orman, AJ Musselman, Cesar Manzado, Tim Doyle, Taylor Cox, and Andrea Giacometti down the running order a little bit. Those guys were holding top spots throughout the day, and now they're all sitting one spot lower. We've had conversations with Ray Kingsbury and Adam Blocker on today's show, so it's been exciting to get to chat with a couple former iRacing Indy 500 winners. I think that marks 4 that we have had on to this point in Today at the 500. Chris Demerit and Andrew Cancelo, a couple former iRacing 500 winners that were on the show yesterday. But a great show so far this evening, and great to have you on, Carter, as well.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's exciting to watch these guys see what their cars can do, take it to the limits, see how fast they can get their times up. So I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, and just to give you guys a little bit of a rundown of what's left in this week, qualifications week, before we get into race week next week. We'll be back with practice on Thursday. Again, practice will start at 1 p.m. Eastern time, same time as we had today, and practice will run until 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll have pretty much the same broadcast coverage on Open Wheels TV of practice. Our coverage will run from 1 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on Open Wheels TV. And then at 8 p.m., you'll want to hop on over to Race Spot TV, and they'll have the full qualifications draw again at 8 p.m. on Race Spot TV. That'll determine the initial order of qualifications for Saturday. And, of course, after Thursday's practice comes to a close at 9 p.m., we'll have one more practice before qualifying. That's Fast Friday from, again, 1 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have a full slate of coverage right here on Open Wheels TV. Once again, practice coverage from 1 to 7:30 p.m. And then a special qualifications preview of the Open Wheels 500 on Today at the 500, again at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday evening. Then on Saturday and Sunday, pretty much identical coverage schedules. We'll have the action beginning here at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on Open Wheels TV each day, and our coverage will run until 5 p.m. Eastern Time each day. And at that point, Race Spot TV will take the reins, and they'll bring you home for the final hour of both Pole Day, where the Pit Lane Parlay Polo winner will be crowned, as well as Bump Day on Sunday, where we will determine who makes it into the field of 33 drivers, and those guys will be the ones to compete 1 week from Sunday in the second annual Open Wheels 500-mile race. Just a few souls left out there. Right now you see Wilson Neto on your screen. He was a front row qualifier at the Open Wheels 500 last year. We'll see if he can make it back to the front row. John Hajek Doggett will not be returning to the front row in 2020 after starting outside row 1 in 2019. John taking more of an advisory role with Team Talent, certainly serving as the lead engineer for that group. So still good to have John connected to the event in any way possible. And we'll be excited to see if Young O can once again magically snatch the pole. We'll talk a little bit predictions when we get closer to actual qualifications weekend, but Any early ideas, Carter, on who you think could be running up front there at the end of the day on Saturday as we look for a pole sitter?
Yeah, Tanner, it's just so hard. We're seeing some familiar names in Sunday's practice, today's practice. These guys are just putting in so much work. I think, Adam Blocker, some of the names we've been talking to, those guys all have potential for getting up there, and as well as potential for winning the race. So, I don't want to put too much out there just because I think that the starting field is going to be separated by a tenth or two. I think it's going to be crazy tight. So these guys are putting in some serious work, and we've heard from a couple of the guys we've interviewed that they don't have to make too many tweaks on their setup because it did them so well last May. So I think some of the names we saw last May up there are going to be probably similar to what we see this year.
Indeed, and it is so tough to try to handicap, who could be quick when it comes right down to the final hour of qualifying and trying to make not only your way into perhaps a pole award situation, but certainly just trying to make it into the field of 33. Like you said, this field is so tight, so stacked. It's hard to imagine a gap any wider, like you said, than 1 or 2 tenths from top to bottom in that field of 33. And that's part of what makes this event so special and racing at Indy so special. It's a different beast than most events, and we try to bring that special feeling to the Open Wheels 500 and really put a lot of pressure on these guys to go out and simply perform.
Yeah, and I think what excites me so much is some of these guys, all they're concerned about is making the starting 33. They're pretty confident in their race setup, and they feel that once they make it into the race, all they got to do is make it in, and they got a chance for winning. So I think that kind of gives us a little insight on how well these guys are going to race and how tough it's going to be come 15th of November.
Right now, Marco Brazil on screen, drafting up to fellow countryman Wilson Neto in the purple car leading us around the track here at Indianapolis. Just about 3 minutes left in practice here. And one of the individuals we got to talk to earlier today, Jesper Orman, real quick, Carter, he talked about his love of IndyCar has kind of been born out of an influx of Swedish drivers. That includes Marcus Ericsson and Felix Rosenqvist into the NTT IndyCar Series. For those two drivers, they really seem to settle in a little bit in 2020. Rosenqvist obviously winning a race, and Ericsson seen by the end of the year he was starting to find his stride. Rosenqvist now moves on to Aero McLaren SP in 2021, but Ericsson inked to an extension with Ganassi. Real quick, Carter, what do you see out of those two drivers in 2021? And it's great to hear that they can make such an impact in a country, quite far away from the United States, but to hear somebody like Sweden really building interest in IndyCar really helps us with the international impact of the sport.
Yeah, it's always awesome to have international drivers, and it's always awesome to have drivers come from other forms of motorsport. And it's never easy making that transition. And obviously Rosenqvist and Ericsson had a few hiccups here and there, but they've done nothing but show their true talent, and they're with some great teams. And like you said, we've seen some awesome results as far as some wins, top 10s, top 5s. Just a bunch of consistency and getting some decent points. So I think those guys have a bright future. I think they're going to be partnered with some great teams, some great guys, just helping them coach themselves through each race. So I'm excited. I love seeing new guys, young guys. I love seeing them be successful, and I think that Ericsson has definitely got a win coming up. I think Rosenqvist is going to have a few more under his belt, and I'm just excited to see what those guys are going to be doing here in the next few years.
Talking to Carter McCue, VP of competition for the Open Wheels 500, and that's just about to bring an end to our show for this evening. Looking again at timing and scoring, which you can find by visiting open-wheels.com/timing. Marco Brazil at the top of the board at the end of the day today, 38.477 second lap. That equates to 233.905 miles an hour. So a strong run for Marco today. He was able to draft up and snatch a big lap. He's drafting his teammate right now, Marco passing Wilson Neto on the broadcast, and we'll see what he can put up on this final lap. Nope, it ends up, he pulls it off the track and promptly into the wall. So that'll bring an end to Marco's run today. Ryan Schold, he had a nice run late in this session, moves up to second fastest at 38.555 seconds. Jesper Orman, 38.619. AJ Musselman, 38.748. Fifth place was Cesar Manzato, an Italian driver, at 38.881. Tim Doyle set what we believe is the fastest no-toe lap today, 38.889 seconds. That was sixth fastest. And then moving down the line, Taylor Cox, seventh quick at 38.908. Andrea Giacometti at 38.916. Austria-New Zealand club member Doug South at 38.938. And Mikhail Hagstrom, the Scandinavia club driver for Team Players Hagstrom Racing, 38.970. Well, it was a great day of practice once again at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we bring a close to the second day of practice. Carter, Thursday will bring us the penultimate practice before qualifications, and we'll have the qualifications draw live on RaceSpot TV at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Looking forward to another day of practice at Indianapolis, and perhaps getting you back on today at the 500 when we resume this airings on Friday.
Yes, sir. I'll be there. These guys are getting my hopes up, and it's going to be the qualifying and the race are going to be nuts. So look forward to seeing these guys battle it out.
Indeed. Well, for everybody at Open Wheels Motorsports Sanctioning, we'd really like to give thanks to everyone who tuned in today and enjoyed our coverage of practice. We had some great participation from the drivers all across the board. As I go down the final classification, we had 43 drivers post a time in practice today. Another couple drivers, Richard Valley and Andreas Eek, they were at the track, didn't post any times, but we know they're around and they're getting ready for qualifications weekend as well. Big thanks to everyone involved in today's production. Thanks to Carter for joining us on today's broadcast. And now we get ready for Thursday. We'll be back on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time right here on Open Wheels TV for coverage again of the third day of practice at the Open Wheels 500. And then later on that day, you can find us for a special edition of Today at the 500. It's the Qualifications Draw Special live on RaceSpot TV. That again at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, for everybody at Open Wheels Motorsports Sanctioning, we also like to give thanks to Faye Costantine and ABC for their use of the 1999 to 2018 IndyCar on ABC theme. Always a special moment when we get to bring that into the broadcast. Big thanks to them for allowing us to work that in. Thank you to Marco Brazil, Jesper Orman for joining us on the practice broadcast today. And a big thanks to Adam Blocker and Ray Kingsbury for joining us on the Today at the 500 program this evening. Well, once again, it was a great day of racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We look forward to bringing it to you once again on Thursday. Have a good evening, everybody. We'll see you again soon.